Hey, this one is being filmed live from Miss Attaway's room, Chapter 16a, The Succession of the Plebs. Primis temporibus, rei publicae liberae magna dissentio orta est, inter patres et plebem propter aes alienum, quo paene tota plebs premebantur. Okay, you're a Latin genius, so I'm sure you recognize your ablative of time when, in the beginning, during the first times of what? Of this genitive phrase, modifying over there. Then we have the subject, magna dissentio. Magna, of course, modifies that. Orta est is your deponent verb. Jeremy Leedon is in the background trying not to annoy us, but we don't know if it's going to work or not. Inter patres et plebem, prepositional phrase, you got that. And another prepositional phrase, propter aes alienum. Make sure you check your notes. Aes alienum is a funky phrase. It does not mean foreign gold, if that's a literal translation, but rather debt. And then we have a relative clause, starting with quo, which of course points to this debt. And that ends there. The subject of the relative clause is tota plebs. There's your subject. And quo is of course ablative, so you have the subject is being verbed by the ablative there. Creditori enim licebat, debitorum etiam in servitutem ducere. Okay, we've got a dative here for a creditor. And then the problem that you have here is this verb licebat is impersonal. So it was being allowed for the dative, for the creditor, and then that puts us into accusative infinitive construction. For the creditor to do what? To ducere, to lead the direct object, debitorum, into this depressing prepositional phrase. The basic moral of the story is don't get into debt, even if you are a Roman or an American student thinking about taking on too much student loan debt. Praeter ea, ius redebatur a consulibus, qui magistratus tantum patribus patebat. Furthermore, okay, we've got our subject, use, passive verb, and then ablative agent. That's about as simple as it gets. Now, the funky thing is over here, qui magistratus. This is being used as a demonstrative pronoun, which office, referring to the consulship. So the laws were being controlled by the consuls. Which office, patebat, and then this goes to this data, was open. Tantum is important here only. So the law was being taken care of by the consuls, and only senators were allowed to be consuls, which is convenient because usually the senators were the ones who were the creditors to all these plebs who were in debt. Cum iam plebs auxilium a consulibus postularent, Latini equites nuntio verent vulscos ad urbem oppugnandum venire. Okay, we've got a cum clause. How do we know that besides the fact that Mrs. Hahn said so? Well, there's the word cum, and there's a subjunctive verb there. And then, of course, there's also no ablative thing after that, so it's one of those cum clauses. Subject is plebs, direct object, prepositional phrase, a consulibus, and then here's your verb. So plebs, postularant, auxilium, a consulibus. Okay, moving on. Our subject is Latini equites. Notice Latini modifies these knights. Nuntio verent, by now you should recognize that that introduces an indirect statement because you announce things by saying them. So here is our accusative infinitive construction. The subject of it is the Volscians. Here's your verb venire. But what's up with this ad urbem oppugnandum? Well, hopefully you remember that ad plus an nd word right there means for the purpose of. For the purpose of attacking the city. Oh, that does not look pleasant at all. Plebs exultabant gaudio, atque inter se hortabantur, ne nomina darent. Okay, so how do the plebs feel about the fact that the Volscians are coming to kill them all? Oh, look, they were happy. Gaudio. And how else did they react? Well, inter se, prepositional phrase. Hortabantur, okay, that is to encourage, and that introduces an indirect command because they're trying to get people to do things. And the indirect command here starts with this ne. Normally it's ut, except ne is how you tell someone not to do something. Nomine darent, make sure you look at the notes for that. That basically means to enlist in the military. So the plebs were feeling this way, and they were encouraging each other not to do this. Ad unus e consulibus, plebe convocata, by the way, that's a typo, that should be a long A. Plebe convocata, pollicatus est judicia intermittere quoad milites in castris essent. Okay, I think this is that Aulus Publius guy doing this. Ad unus, one from the councils, that means one of the two, because remember, there are two of them. Ablative absolute. We're going to translate that with noun having been participled. Pollicatus est, don't fall for that deponent verb trick, oldest trick in the book. And that leads us to another indirect statement, because pollicatus is you promise things in the accusative infinitive. So we're going to bracket it off here. And it ends there. Now this is interesting because there's no stated subject for intermittere inside our indirect statement, so we're going to assume it's either he, being the guy from the councils, or they, the Senate in general. They were doing this to the courts, so they're going to stop having legal lawsuits, quoad, as long as milites in castris essent. So if you guys do this, go to camp, we'll do this. Okay, the next part, bello confecto, another ablative absolute, and then we're going to do the next line on the next page. Senatum plebi consultorum esse. So we're continuing the indirect statement from that council guy, and he's saying once the word's done, the Senate, future active participle, consultorum, notice it's got that UR, that's how you know it's future. Consultorum esse, it's a two-part infinitive because future active infinitives have two words about the plebs, or in regard to the plebs. Eo modo plebi persuasit ut nomina darent. Okay, eo modo, in this way. Plebi is dative because you persuade a dative, and you persuade them to do an indirect command. Subject, of course, is the plebs. Verb, direct object. Notice that a in nomina is because it's neuter, and we all know the two neuter rules. Number one, nominative and accusative are always the same, and number two, the nominative and accusative plurals end in a. Volsci aliique populi finitimi victi sunt. Oh, okay, we have a compound subject here. We got Volscians and other folks, other neighboring folks. And then we have a verb, victi sunt. Really? Just a subject and a verb? That's kind of boring, isn't it? Postea tamen, jus de creditis pecuniis credelatur ut antia dictum est. Well, that's kind of dirty pool. Afterwards, however, jus, of course, is your subject. About what? About the owed money. Cruelly, adverb, just like before, ut antia dictum est. So apparently, he said one thing, but it didn't work out. Tandem plebs cum exercitux alio bello coorto in armis asset desperato consulum senatusque auxilio in sacram montem secaserent. Okay, this is surprisingly complex. We've got a subject here, which is fine. We know we need the rest of the sentence. But then they give us cum exercitus. That tells us that there's a cum clause because exercitus obviously is an ablative. So we've got the main part of the sentence with the plebs, but before they give us the rest of it, they give us half of a cum clause, cum exercitus. And then inside the half of the cum clause, they give us an ablative absolute here, and then the rest of the cum clause is over here. But we still don't know what the plebs, the subject of our main sentence, are doing yet. And before they give us that, there's another ablative absolute, and then a prepositional phrase. Okay, so the plebs, there's your subject. It goes way down here with this verb secaserent, and then here's a prepositional phrase saying where they were going. So if we're going to emphasize this, main subject, rest of the main sentence there. So the main sentence says, the plebs secaserent to this place. And then we've got this cum clause talking about when they did this, when the army in armis essent, and this ablative absolute explaining what was going on with the army, with noun having been participled, and then another ablative absolute. We're going to start with the noun, with auxilio Desperato, so that's our ablative absolute. And then we're wondering, okay, what's up with concilium and senatus? Watch out, those are both genitive. Don't mix up consulum, third declension genitive plural, with some other second declension accusative singular. So with the help being despaired of, the help of who? Of these guys. Hic mons trans annium flumen est tria ab urba milia passum. Okay, so now we're just describing what this Sacrum Mountum is. He says where it's located. Trans, across this river. That's pretty easy. And tria milia passa, that's literally 1,000 steps, i.e. a mile, a Roman mile, so about 3 Roman miles from the city. Patres arbitrati nullam spem nisi in concordia civium reliquam esse. Ad plebum miserent menenium Agrippam ipsum plebum et plebi carum. Okay, so the senators got a clue, arbitrati, that's deponent, thinking, and that introduces, of course, your indirect statement. And it goes there. So the senators thinking this accusative infinitive construction, nullum spem is your subject. Nisi means unless. Here is a prepositional phrase. So they were thinking that no hope, reliquam esse, two-part infinitive, that's perfect passive. No hope was left. What did these guys do? They sent the direct object, this guy, to the plebs. Prepositional phrase here. And then this entire phrase talks about Menenius Agrippa. We have this phrase in apposition. He himself was that, and he was dear to this dative.